Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, our esteemed guests, friends, and of course, our docent, Ms. Raisa Fadila, Magister Pendidikan. Today, as part of our end course semester assessment, me and my friends would like to give a presentation about Educate, Empower, Embrace, the sex education journey for every age. But first, let me introduce myself and my friends. My name is Najla Malika. Some of our group members are Galyu Pertiwi Tulaktondok, Jessica Handayani Zendrato, Rahel Christina Silalahi, and Michelle Angelyn Huang. Now, let's get straight into it. Did you know that the World Health Organization recommends children as young as 5 years old to be taught about sex education? I mean, isn't that kind of crazy? What kind of child at the age of 5 needs to know about sex or even reproduction? When I was 5 years old, I was too busy playing with dolls to even care about boys, let alone understand the concept of sex. So then, why does the World Health Organization needs children as young as 5 years old to be taught about sex? Now, to answer that question, let's see what is sex education really? Sex education is the teaching and learning about reproduction, sexual health, and sexuality to students by trusted figures, such as parents, teachers, or social workers that are equipped to work with you. Though it is called sex education doesn't only talk about sex. It also covers broad topics such as families, relationship, respect, consent, bodily autonomy, anatomy, puberty, menstruation, contraception, and sexually transmitted disease such as HIV. So, even though it is called sex education, it is also important for us to talk about consent and respect for bodily autonomy, especially to kids, as a way to prevent them from getting abused by the adults in their life. Because the fact is, we don't live in a perfect world where children are safe. So, the teaching of sex education towards children isn't only about sex. It's also about protecting them from the potential dangers in the world.
Now that we know what sex education is, let's talk about why we should provide sex education. First, sex education provides knowledge about the body, reproduction, and sexual health. The goal is for individuals to understand their own body and be able to make wise decisions about sexuality. Second, is to help children and teenagers prepare for a healthy and happy future. Through sex education, they can learn how to be responsible in making good decisions and maintain sexual health. Third, is providing information about how to prevent the spread of sexually transmitted diseases, such as using condoms, getting vaccine, and undergoing regular health checks. With this knowledge, individuals can reduce the risk of infection and maintain their sexually healthy. Fourth, is helping teenagers understand the physical and emotional changes that are during puberty and adolescence. This helps them better manage the change and reduce any stars of confusion that might arise. Fifth, is teaching the importance of consent in sexual relationship and respecting its individual's personal boundaries. This helps prevent fusion or upset in relationship. Lastly, children and teens learn about the importance of healthy, respectful, and constructive relationships. They learn about good community, understanding emotional and interpersonal skill that can help them in future relationships.
The sex education makes children want to having casual sex? No, having basic sex education will not encourage the rest of children engaging in casual sex. Good sex education can accurately provide a better understanding of sexuality. Next. Here are some reasons why sex education does not encourage the rest of having sexual relations. 1. Basic sex education teaches the importance of healthy and respectful relationships, including self-protection and wise decision-making. 2. Sex education provides accurate information about the risks and consequences of unsafe sexual behavior. 3. Sex education helps children and teenagers understand the importance of making good and responsible decisions. Therefore, providing sex education, therefore, providing sexual education to children often the child mindset to protect themselves. Remain protects and maintain boundaries so that children remain safe and purpose. Okay.
Now I'm going to explain how to provide education about sex to teenagers. Next. First, tell about the body parts and their function. Curiosity about sex is a natural step in children growing up to learn about their bodies. Sex education helps children understand more about their bodies and helps them love their own bodies. Don't forget to tell teenagers that certain body parts should not be touched by anyone. Second, tell about puberty. All teenagers will go through this puberty phase. Explain to them that all these changes are normal and there is no need to be embarrassed or afraid if this phase occurs. Third, tell about sexual activity. Teenagers may have to start to pay attention to the opposite sex. Therefore, it is appropriate to teach teenagers about relationships with the opposite sex. And the last, tell about sexual violence and harassment. Explain that teenagers must be able to protect themselves. For example, saying something or shooting when someone has evil intention or is teasing them. Not only that, this also takes the form of intimidating your appearance or body parts, even trying to touch certain body parts. Okay, next.
Alright, we will talk about the benefits of sex education for kids and teenagers. The first is preventing adolescent promiscuity. Sexual education explains the negative consequences of puberty for teenagers, such as promiscuity. This negative activity may occur because a pubescent teenager's curiosity increases during adolescence. causing them to seek answers and try new things. And because the reproductive organs have not yet fully developed in adolescence and are not yet ready, teenagers will choose not to have sex outside of marriage if they are taught values about sexual activities that should be carried out by people who are legally married as husband and wife according to religion and state. The second benefit is preventing sexual violence and harassment. Teenagers can grasp the concept of respecting their bodies and others by not touching or disturbing others if sexual knowledge is combined with religious and moral beliefs. Children and teenagers are taught that notion of consent which states that they have the right to refuse others from touching their bodies without consent. Other individuals do not have the right to touch several parts of their bodies. And if they do, they have the right to defend themselves. This also applies to the parents and relatives, because perpetrators of violence and sexual harassment are frequently their closest family members or the people they trust. The third benefit is preventing sexually transmitted diseases. According to World Health Organization, more than 1 million sexually transmitted infections are acquired every day all around the world, and each year there are an estimated 374 million new infections, with 1 of 4 curable sexually transmitted infections, which is chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, and trichomoniasis. Apart from these 4 diseases, there is also HIV, or human immunodeficiency virus, which is an infection that attacks the body's immune system and can be transmitted through the body fluids. The chances of being infected by this virus will increase by engaging in unsafe sex. Next slide, please. Okay, the fourth benefit of sex education is avoiding unwanted pregnancy. Unwanted pregnancy is usually associated with teenage pregnancy. It has a negative impact on the health of teenagers and their babies, and can also have social and economic impacts. Pregnancy at a young or adolescent age includes the risk of premature birth, labor bleeding, and can increase the maternal and infant mortality. Teenage pregnancies are also associated with unwanted pregnancies and unsafe abortions. And last but not least, providing accurate and the clear information regarding physical development as a child grows into adolescence. Several physical changes occurs in teenagers during this period, such as increasing height or weight, altering voice or developing Adam's apple in boys, or menstruation in girls. This can make youngsters feel uneasy and lack self-confidence. This is where parents may help by explaining that all of these changes are natural during the journey from childhood to adulthood, and they don't need to be concerned or insecure about them.
Conclusion. Sex education is teaching and learning about reproduction, sexual health, and sexuality. Sex education can be given to teenagers by telling about body parts and their functions, telling about puberty, telling about sexual activity, and telling about violence and sexual harassment. One thing to remember is that sex education for children is different from teaching children to have sex, because sex education is knowledge for children to recognize their body function, as well as providing teenagers with understanding of the ethics and social rules that apply, as well as the impacts that their actions can have. Here are the references that we used for this presentation. That's all from me and my group. Thank you so much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.